Howdy, guys. Jimmy Song here. Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Tech Talk Q&A. I usually do this show on Mondays, but I was really feeling under the weather yesterday. Not really under the weather per se. I had some digestion problems. I did a fast and recovering from it. I think a lot of the gut bacteria that I had died. So I had to rebuild that a little bit, and I overate a little bit. I think my stomach had gotten back to normal size, and I just ate way too much, and I just wasn't feeling very good yesterday. Anyway, I am feeling much better now. Now I'm gonna be able to talk about all of the stories that I put out in the newsletter. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. Let's just say that. Anyway, I do want to give a shout out to O'Reilly because they did send me like a little bit. Like 16 copies of my book. It is Programming Bitcoin. It is now available on Amazon under for the Kindle. I don't think this print book is quite out yet. I do need to send some of these to a lot of the people that provided scholarships and so on. But it is kind of nice because everything in here is in color, which is nice. You kind of need it to figure out what the various things mean and so on. Anyway, just wanted to thank you all for supporting me during that time. It is awesome that I've gotten to be able to do stuff like this, especially like over the past couple of years. It's just been absolutely unreal. Anyway, let's move on to the actual newsletter. As always, my newsletter comes out every Monday, and it's up to issue number 125. It used to be 3 times a week. I just couldn't find enough stories at a certain point, so I moved it to once a week. That's why it's issue 125. I think it's been going on for about a year and a half, about or thereabouts. Anyway, a lot of interesting stories. You can subscribe using the link in the show notes. I also have a link to this particular issue as well. Anyway, let's get started. All right, so let's start with this story: the Tao of Bitcoin development. This is by Alex B. He's a core developer. I think he works at Blockstream. Anyway, it's a really good article about how to actually contribute to core development and what that process is like, what the development landscape is like, and so on. It's a really nice summary of what resources you can use and so on. For example, these different IRC channels, for example, Bitcoin Dev, Bitcoin Core Dev, Bitcoin Wizards. There's also like the whole proposal and implementation process that goes through. It's basically the Tao is like the way, right? Like in Chinese, the way of Bitcoin development, the way things happen is basically what this article describes. Very good article. Encourage you to read it if you are at all interested in core development. There's some interesting questions that it might lead to as well. I don't think this sort of article gets enough attention as a way to get people more and more involved. But yeah, I mean, it was written a while ago, but I wanted to reintroduce it as a way to get people to do more of this stuff. All right, this one is from Bitcoin Developer Network. I see that Bitcoin Developer Network is on chat, so hi there. This is by Grokchain, one of my former students from my seminar. But this is talking about Lib Bitcoin. If you're not familiar with Lib Bitcoin, you can read the background really quickly. Originally started by Amir Taki, now maintained by Eric Voskuil. The Lib Bitcoin Toolkit is a set of cross-platform C++ libraries for building Bitcoin. I think TX index is on by default. It has 0MQ, access, so you can get stuff really quickly. The only thing about Lib Bitcoin is that there just aren't that many nodes that are running. It's really convenient if you want to get a lot of stuff, but it does have a tendency to be very resource intensive. And if you've ever talked to Eric, he can tell you all about like how to make it work and optimize it and all this other stuff. I think they used to have like 2 developers besides Eric working on it full time, and then I think Bitmain was supposed to fund another couple, but that didn't happen. So I don't know where that project is. But this is a great article to figuring out how to use Lib Bitcoin, how to install it, how to query it, how to do all of the various things on it. You can see like BX is there, is sort of like the control command for Lib Bitcoin. It's a lot of really cool stuff here. And you can make like a public key. There's like all sorts of ways to convert one type of public key to an address, or an address to a public key, and all this other stuff. You can even generate QR codes like this, and have all sorts of different communication things with it. What I find really powerful though is the ZMQ interface, which is absolutely fantastic. That isn't covered here, but if you get used to this, I think the command line stuff uses ZMQ to do all of the communication. But once you get used to the command line stuff, what you're going to want to do is use something like ZMQ to query it really fast, and especially if you have like an HD wallet with a lot of different addresses and things like that. ZMQ is like really fast, and you can get a lot of the stuff back and forth. Unlike JSON RPC, which has a lot of overhead and things like that. If you can get a hold of a Lib Bitcoin server, this is definitely something that you should look into and play with more if you need that speed, but don't want to run like a full Lib Bitcoin node, which can be kind of hard to set up, honestly. All right, here's a bit for signatures of messages using Bitcoin private keys. Now, this is something that's been done quite often. A lot of people want to sign messages proving that they own a certain amount of Bitcoins, and if a particular address has a large amount in it, this is a way to prove that you have reserves, right? Like this is one of the many ways. But signing sort of arbitrary messages, it's been done for a long time with like sort of one-off type of formats. I know Armory had one, and Bitcoin Core has one. I know Luke's Eligius pool used to basically not have users or passwords. You just use like a signature to do that. But this is a way to make signing of messages into like a standard, and this is a proposed BIP. And it's a good idea. And there's we'll see when it gets like a bit number and so on. But having some sort of standard to do that will be useful, especially as Bitcoin hits more and more of the mainstream. I would love to see websites stop using usernames and passwords and start using like public key cryptography, and having something like this like integrated into the browser, maybe with Lightning or something like that. Would make it like super convenient and interesting going forward, and that's maybe like the feature that we can all look forward to. All right, let's look at some Lightning stuff. This is Raspberry, and if you're not familiar with the project, the idea is to put a Lightning node on a Raspberry Pi. The thing about a Raspberry Pi is that it has no display. So what Raspberry does is it has this little display module thing. I think I bought one of these. I never actually put it together, but it would obviously be really kind of cool. The thing that they put on there, it looks like, is LND and a Bitcoin full node with a 1 terabyte hard drive with that like nice display thing. And you can run it from home, and you have this nice Raspberry Blitz ride the Lightning stuff. And they give you all the parts that you need, and you can just go and get the Amazon shopping list. So if you click USA, for example, it will give you I guess these are affiliate links or something like that. So you can sort of help them out a little bit. You can buy the Raspberry Pi board here, and then you can get the micro SD card. This is only 16 gigabytes. The actual power supply, this is, I think, just like a micro USB adapter. And then a 1 terabyte hard drive that you need. And I guess this one's an external one, and that's a Toshiba one. A nice case to put everything together like that. And of course, the LCD display. I think these are currently unavailable, so I'm not sure what you're supposed to do there. But there's a shopping list for every single one. But you could build your own, right? Like, you don't have to trust anybody with your thing, and you can hook it up exactly like so. You have a touch screen. You can get the SD card image. You can boot it in, and you can run everything using the setup, and you can have a full Lightning node using hardware pieces that are more or less commodity hardware. So there's no real like hacking risk or something like that. If you get like something that's specifically for Lightning, then the manufacturer or somebody along the way may know what it is and be able to hack at it. So it's a good idea. I would encourage you to take a look at it, and especially if you're into hardware, this is a fun thing to do. I guess it also supports Litecoin, so that would be very interesting too. You can do cross-chain atomic swaps maybe, or something like that. All right, Lightning routing node starter pack. So this is from Pierre Rochard. Now, if you're not familiar, so there's sort of two types of Lightning nodes. You have like sort of end nodes. If you need to pay somebody and receive money, being an end node is perfectly fine. You're kind of like the Visa card or something like that, right? The equivalent. Except you can actually also receive, but you can do transactions on the Lightning Network just fine doing something like this. What Pierre's talking about here is being a routing node. That is some sort of like a middle node. On the Visa network, there's lots of like routing nodes and things like that eventually get to some sort of centralized entity. I think there's like lots of centralized entities. Anyway, the business model around the Lightning routing nodes is that you get paid maybe like a Satoshi or two every time you route a payment through yourself. So if you do this in volume, this can actually be kind of profitable. And here is, this is where he's talking about, okay, if you want to be a routing node, here's what you will want to do. And he goes through, making sure that your hardware is reliable, and like you get ECC RAM, and make sure that you have a UPS, and are you going to use like a rack mount server, and all this other stuff. But it's essentially setting it up so that your routing node is on 24/7. And this is something that you absolutely need if you're going to be a routing node. If you're just sending and receiving payments once in a while on Lightning, you can have something like Eclair on your phone, which we'll talk about next. But if you're a routing node, you need to be online constantly. And this is something that obviously Pierre's learned because he runs the Lightning Power users node. And he has a lot of different connections to it. And a lot of the Bitcoins that he has, I imagine, are locked up in these routing nodes, in these Lightning channels. And as a result, he's earning money as a result. Right, like every time he routes a payment, he gets a couple of Satoshis, and depending on the volume that he gets, he's making money. And he's basically doing all of you guys a favor, just sort of showing you different ways to do that. So that's an interesting thing that you might want to do if you are into this stuff and you want to play with more Lightning. This is how you would do it. Routing is sort of like the next level. You become a little more of the infrastructure. All right, next one is the future of Lightning is you. This is from Marsmensch. You can see that he's acknowledging that I put it in his newsletter, but essentially, it's talking about like Lightning as a protocol layer and how we need more adoption, and this is what the visual looks like, and so on. And getting more payment channels to open and things like that, it really does depend on individuals. And when I think it was Charlie Lee that said that Lightning is the closest to a peer-to-peer network that we have in Bitcoin. And what they're talking about, what he's talking about is, well, it really is peer-to-peer because payment channels are from one person to another. You need more of those in order to make it work. So until the network grows, it's not going to be quite as useful as if it's not as big. So the future of Lightning is very much you. So good article. Please take a look at it. Obviously, it will help with that. Here's another story. Enabling receive on Eclair Mobile. So Eclair is a Lightning wallet for your Android phone, and you can see that there's you can now receive. For a while, it was just you can pay with Eclair. It had a one-way payment channel. So you could pay other people, but now you can actually receive, which makes it a lot more useful, doubly as useful, probably maybe quadruply as useful. And there's some caveats about watchtowers and making sure that you have enough time to react and so on. And making sure that you have enough inbound liquidity to make that work. And inbound liquidity tends to be kind of difficult to get because that means that somebody has to lock up their coins to you, to your channel to make it worthwhile. And this requires some dedication to be able to do, and some assurances on your part that you will be receiving payments on some sort of regular basis in order to do. So, I mean, it's still really cool. I would encourage you to try playing more with this stuff. As usual, like Lightning is still sort of beta level software, maybe alpha in some cases. Certainly for receiving, since it just came out, I would call it like alpha level software. Be careful with it, but like it's a lot of fun to play with. I do want to sell my books, for example, using Lightning and so on. So please take a look, please play with it, and have fun trying to do stuff with it. All right, so Coinmetrics, last story here, published a story about evaluating Bitcoin forks with network data. Essentially, the conclusion that they came to in this article, after examining the various Bitcoin forks, Bitcoin Cash ABC, Bitcoin SV, and many others, the conclusion that they came to is that the market caps of these are just horribly, horribly inflated. And I mean, it's like fees are almost totally absent in Bitcoin forks. Combined fees on BCH, BSV, and BTG have averaged under $100 daily over the last month. And never mind all of the other minor forks on top of that. This would be stuff like Bitcoin Diamond, Super Bitcoin, and many others. But the uptake on these are like, I mean, just absolutely tiny. And that's the conclusion that they've come to with respect to this stuff. And like the addresses with a balance, I mean, it continues to go down. Basically, none of these things are being used in any way, shape, or form, really, other than by, I guess, Roger Ver or something like that. the amount of attention that they've gotten compared to the actual usage is just like way higher than it probably should be. And that's kind of what it is. And that it's not surprising. That's the way of these hard forks and so on. So anyway, that does it for this edition of Bitcoin Tech Talk, at least the newsletter portion. Let me stop the sharing, see if there are any questions in chat. Let's see. Will there be an audio version of Programming Bitcoin? Probably not. There's too much technical information and diagrams and things like that that don't translate well to the audio. I do plan to have some sort of a book that's more for the popular audience, that you don't have to be a programmer to be able to read. That's probably coming in like the next 6 months or so. Yeah, but that's something that I'm planning. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Again, I'm sorry I was a little out of sorts over the weekend and on Monday. We will resume on Monday of next week. I'm really excited about like having a book launch party and everything else, which we'll probably do as part of next week's show. Anyway, thank you guys so much. One more question. Have I used Wasabi? Yeah, it's very privacy focused and really interesting. Hopefully, they get larger chunks to be able to tumble through their privacy enhancing mixers. So that's something that I want to be able to do once there's some sort of hardware wallet integration with it. Anyway, thank you so much. And this song is done.